Twice upon a time, there was a boy called Peter. Now, Peter was an impatient boy. Whatever he was thinking about tomorrow. You know, he couldn't live in the moment at all. Like, nothing, you know. Like, as soon as they were like, are you enjoying yourself at the party? He was like, oh yeah, I can't wait to Christmas now. And he kept going on about being older, and he kept going on about getting a job, and he kept going on about wanting to marry his mate Lisa. Right? He was dead sure he was going to marry Lisa. Like, that's what he was going to do. That was like right in his head all the time. That's all he ever thought about. And he thought about the future with her, and he thought, life is going to be amazing when I get to that point. And his mum would say, oh, look, come on, Pete. I mean, have a word with yourself. Like, your childhood should be there to be enjoyed, you know. You've got a load of friends, right? We live out in the countryside. You can run about. You know, you've even got like an Xbox. You know, everything. You know, it was back when Xboxes were like rare, you know, like in the times before them. Perhaps. Right, so, you know, he had everything he wanted. His dad was all right, you know, as well. Like, his dad would take him out fishing and doing things that he wanted to do with him. So, like, life was good, but, you know, Peter wasn't happy. And Peter used to go thinking about the future in woods. He used to go wandering about the woods, daydreaming about it. Like, it would all be stuck in his head, like, and he'd be like, oh, one day I'm going to be so great. One day I'm going to be this. One day I'm going to be that. Imagining it, just lost in this world of daydreams. And he happened upon, well, in the story, it's always a witch. It's always a witchy old lady, isn't it? Right? You know, so let's shake that up a bit, because I'm not sure about that. You know, that's never quite nice to old ladies, is it? So there was this geezer, right? And he was flogging thread, like, and he had this big box full of thread, and each of them were labelled with people's names. And Peter saw his own name on one of the threads, and the guy was like, yeah, I could knock that out, you know, you can have that, right? It would cost you. Peter said, well, what will it cost me? He said, well, you know, cost you your boredom. That's what I'm selling to you. I'm selling a freedom of boredom. Pete thought, wow, let's have it then. So Pete took it. Took this thread. The guy was like, right, whenever you get bored, just pull the thread. You pull the thread, right? I mean, it could be a phone, couldn't it? It could be going into the phone, but let's do it with thread. Whenever you get bored, pull the thread. Keep pulling, and if you pull just a little bit, a second, now an hour will pass like a second. Pull it really fast, and a day will pass like a second. Put it really, really fast, and you could lose like 6 months. So, you know, you can speed up your life. Peter thought, that sounds all right. Yeah, let's do that then. Here's my boredom. And the man laughed. Peter laughed. It seemed funny. And then off he wandered, right? Stuck the thread in his pocket. And the guy shouted by it, don't tell anyone or you'll die. And Peter was like, well, you could have told me that first before I took it. All right, I won't tell anyone. Had it stuck in his pocket. He thought, I'm going to hide this thing now. And so he hid it for a few weeks. He just hid it. He didn't want to, you know, he was like, well, let's just live life. Let's just carry on with it. I've got this in my pocket. You know, if I need it, it's there. And so he went off and lived his life, right? For 2 weeks. That's all it took. And then he had a really boring exam. Like, it was just tedious. It was sitting at school and he was like, just so tedious. And he thought, do you know what? I'm just going to pull it, let the next hour go. Pulled it. School bell went and off he went. He was like, oh, that was good. Oh, I didn't have to do that tedious exam. That was great, in fact. Next day he turns up at school. Triple maths. He's like, Peter was no mathematician. Triple maths. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. So he gave it a slightly bigger tug. And it's lunchtime. He's like, oh, actually this term's a bit tedious. Gave it a bigger tug, term went. And by, time went on. And Peter was like, do you know what? I just want to marry Lisa now. I'm just so tired of this school. I want to be having my job and I want to marry Lisa. I think, you know, I'll be a carpenter. That'll do. You know, that's what I feel like doing. I'll train to be a carpenter. And he pulled the thread really hard. School was over. And there he was training to be a carpenter, and he really loved it, right? He was out with the boys, you know, he was that kind of kid, and he just, like, he could go to the pub every night, he had a bit of money in his back pocket, it was great, you know, he was just having fun. And then one day he wasn't. He just thought, I want to marry Lisa. So he asked her, and she was like, well, yeah, you know, we're getting all right, and it's not exactly a big village. So you'll do. And so, you know, by and by, like, she said, let's get married. And she was like, thing is, I want to chase my own career for a bit. In the proper story, she wants to learn how to be a good housewife. But she wants to pursue her own career. She's like, look, I took a year out, a gap year, to go around the world, see if there was anyone better than you. And, well, no one turned up. Anyway, I'm going to go off to uni. So that's what I'm going to do. And that's what she did. She went off to uni. She learned to be, should we say lawyer? She learned to be a lawyer. She was like right into that. You know, she loved it. Like, so she learned to be a lawyer and really loved it. And Peter was like, waiting 3 years for being a lawyer, that's a long time. Like, actually it's longer because she's doing all the post-grad and everything. So he pulled the thread, boom, they're married. And then he's like, be nice to have kids, boom, kids. Kids are doing my head in. Like that bit at the start where it's really hard work, where the kids are like toddlers and stuff and they cry all the time, and he's like, oh man, not having that. Pulled the thread. They're now grown up. Pulls the thread again because he's fed up of them. He wants them all to have careers. Left home. And he's old and grey and he's knackered, and he's like, how did I get here? Like, I'm old and grey. Look, there's grey hair. There's grey in my beard. Like, and Lisa, she's sort of knackered all the time. Oh man, what's going on? And he thought, well, this thread is quite precious. I'm not going to pull it anymore. And then his mum got ill, and he was like, oh, I don't feel like I kind of know it. I feel like my life's been this daydream. It's just shot by. So he goes to his mum, and he sits with her, you know, and he's with her till she dies. You know, he's a good lad in that respect. So he sits with his mum till she dies, and you know that life goes slowly, and he kind of relishes it. You know, he kind of, something inside him goes, even though this is sort of a bit boring, like, I'm with my mum and she's not going to be around for long, and well, let's make the most of it. And so he did, and his mum passed away, and he was very upset, and he didn't want that grief inside him, so he pulled the thread till he was over the grief. Now he's getting older now. He's getting much older. The grey hairs are now white, right? And his back's aching and things are drooping all over the place, and he's, you know, skin is hanging off and all sorts of stuff, like weird little, you know, spotty things on his face and all those things that, you know, like when you get old, teeth fell out and got, you know, all of it just getting a bit crap. And he's like, oh man, my life's been a daydream, and what's going on? What am I playing at? So he goes off to the woods, and he's sort of thinking about, well, there's not much of this thread left. There's hardly any left. And he bumps into the salesman, and the salesman goes, all right, China! All right, and he hasn't aged. He hasn't aged, the guy, like. So, well, I've got everyone's thread. Look at me, I'm even more youthful. I've got your life. Ha ha! Peter's like, well, yeah. I don't suppose you could do wishes. He's like, yeah, I can do you a wish. I can do you one. And that's it. Just one wish. He's like, can I have a rewind button? He's like, no, you can't have that. No. Come on, mate. You're having a laugh. Rewind button. 2 threads. I mean, you were lucky enough to get one, all right? Peter's like, okay. I wish none of this happened. I wish I'd never met you. I wish I had all my life back. I wish I had even all the boring bits back. And the guy was like, Peter woke up in his bed. He's a kid again. His mum's waking up. Come on, Peter, get up. You're daydreaming again. And Peter wakes up and he thinks, Mum's young. She's alive. Gives her the biggest hug. Like, he's just so happy with that. He's just so happy with that. And he goes, does that exam. And he's sitting in the exam and he has this sort of daydream about, because he's kind of forgotten. He has this daydream about, himself being old and life passing him by and being like a daydream, and he vows to himself. He looks at a tree in the garden, in fact, and this blossom. It's a cherry tree and the blossom's there, and he looks at it and he thinks, well, how fleeting the blossom is on the tree. You know, my life's kind of could be like that. You know, it's beautiful, utterly amazing, and it's there just for a short amount of time. And he thinks, that blossomed me. I'm going to enjoy even the boring bits of life. I'm going to relish everything. And from that moment on, Peter lived differently inside his head. And he had a much better life because he even enjoyed the boring bits. The end.